Long before there was a single ice thickness chart or one piece of safety gear to strap on, a mountain man named Eli could walk out onto a mile of frozen lake and know, just by the color of the ice, whether it would hold his weight or drop him into water that kills in minutes. Subscribe to The Cold Frontier for the next forgotten story from the winter wilderness. Ring the bell so you never miss one. Now picture him, dead of a January morning. Eli standing at the white edge of the lake, breath hanging in the freezing air like fog, a fur pack heavy on his back, and a mile of untrusted ice between him and the far shore. No chart, no gear, nothing but what he'd learned as a boy from men who lived it. And men like Eli crossed water like this and lived, not by luck. They lived because they'd learned to read the ice the way you and I read a face, and it starts with the eyes. The first thing Eli did was kneel, bare hand brushing the snow aside. He studied the surface long before he ever trusted a single boot to it, because out here, the color of a frozen lake tells the whole story to a man who knows how to look. Clear black ice, dark, glassy, so clean you could see the water moving below it like a window. That was the ice a trapper trusted. It froze slow and it froze solid, layer welded onto layer through the long, still cold, and it held. Then there was the other kind, milky white ice, pale, swollen, full of trapped air and refrozen slush. That was the ice they feared. That was the ice the old-timers called rotten, because it looked thick, it looked plenty strong, and it lied to your face about every bit of it. Look at the two kinds in your mind, the dark, glassy kind and the pale, milky kind. One of them would hold you. One of them killed men. And most folks today would trust the wrong one every single time. But it wasn't only black and white, gray ice, a wet sheen where there shouldn't be one, a dark patch sitting off on its own. Every shade meant something to Eli, and he'd learned each one the hard way, passed down from men who'd gone through and lived just long enough to warn the next boy. You would have knelt there with him, wouldn't you? Staring down at that dark glass, wondering if it was thick enough to bet your life on. And here's the thing. Eli had read the color right, but he knew the eyes could be fooled. A sheet could look black and solid on top and still be rotten underneath, hollowed out where no man could see it. So he did the one thing a greenhorn never thought to do. He stopped trusting his eyes. He set the butt of his long pole down against the ice, and he listened for what the lake itself would tell him. So he tapped the butt of that pole against the surface, and he listened, because the ice talks to a man who knows how to hear it, and what it says can save your life or end it, depending on whether the sound comes from deep down or from right under your boots. The first sound that came up was the one that scares men witless, a deep, low groan. It rolled out under his feet, traveled off across the whole lake, and ended in a long, booming crack that a greenhorn would swear was the ice tearing open beneath him. Every muscle in the body screams the same thing: run, get to shore. Eli didn't move a boot toward shore, because that deep boom meant the opposite of danger. That was thick ice, settling, welding itself tighter as the cold worked it. That deep boom under the ice. Everything in you says run for shore. The old-timers would tell you the opposite. Keep moving. It will hold. They said it plain, passed it down word for word. When it groans like that, keep moving. It will hold you. But there was another sound, and this one you feared. A sharp, high crackle, right underfoot. Something splitting close and shallow, spider lines racing out from your own boots. That was the lake telling you it was thin here, that it could open. And when a man heard that, he stopped cold. He backed off slow, the way he'd come. He spread his weight low and wide and got off that spot before it got him. Deep groan, you go. Sharp crackle underfoot, you stop. That was the whole language, and it was the difference between the far shore and the black water. Now here's the thing that saved more mountain men than sharp ears ever did: the pole. Every one of them carried a long, stout pole, and they didn't lean on it. They held it level, the pole laid across his chest, arms flung wide over it, gripping each end. Not a walking stick, a life laid across his shoulders. Picture that pole across your own chest, arms wide, walking out over a mile of ice, knowing it's the only thing between you and going straight down. Because if the ice let go under him, he wouldn't drop through a hole no wider than his shoulders. That pole would catch on the edges, bridge the gap, hang him there under the arms. And that mattered more than anything because the water below killed in minutes. It seized the muscles stiff. It stole the breath right out of the chest. A man who went under and had to claw at slick ice with bare hands didn't come back up. The pole was the only reason a fella could, and he walked it slow, the whole crossing, deliberate, sliding his boots, never stamping, feeling the give under his weight before he ever trusted a full step to it. So look at what Eli had going for him now. The color red from his eyes, the sounds red from his ears, the pole across his chest, the slow, sliding feet. Every skill the old frontier could teach a man, all of it working at once. And it still wasn't enough, because somewhere out on that lake waited one last trap, a patch that looked exactly like every safe step around it, no thicker than a window pane. And that was the last lesson, the one that cost the most to learn, because a man could get the color right, get the sound right, carry the pole, slide his feet like a church mouse, and still die. Not from the ice that looked bad, from the ice that looked perfect. Eli knew the lake lied in 3 places, so he read those 3 places before he read anything else. First, the shorelines. You'd think the edge is the safe part, close to land, close to home. It's the opposite. The ground holds a little of the sun's warmth long after the freeze, and that warmth bleeds out into the water and thins the ice against the bank. So Eli never trusted the edge. He stepped out fast where the shore was, and he stepped in careful where the far shore came, and in between he kept to the deep middle where the cold had worked longest and hardest. Second, the moving water. Any inlet, any little stream feeding the lake, any place the water was still crawling underneath, Eli gave it a wide berth. Current doesn't sleep in winter.